Reading Reddit horror stories, episode number 2. Let's go. Also, please excuse the way that I'm dressed. I've just worked an 8-hour shift. It's 12 in the morning, and we're reading Reddit horror stories, so yeah, this is my life. Okay, so we're using the Reddit subpage, No Sleep Again. It was really good in the first episode. So our first story is There's Something Wrong with Our Ring Doorbell by user OKU9707. So, there is a motion at your front door. I've been seeing a lot more of these alerts on my phone over the last 2 days from our Ring doorbell. You can adjust how sensitive the camera is to movement so you don't get as many false positives. And this was the first step I took. My wife and I have some bushes right by our porch that sometimes triggers these alerts. I'd given up checking the actual video feed for the most part because of how often this was happening. Initially, adjusting the sensitivity settings for the doorbell seemed to solve the issue. I was relieved because all the false positives were draining the battery of the camera, and it was annoying having to bring it inside so frequently to recharge it. Recently though, I started getting more alerts during the day at odd times. They stop around bedtime, but picked up again in the early hours of the morning for some baffling reason. The last 2 mornings, roughly around 3 AM, of course it's 3 AM, I received a flurry of alerts on my phone. When I checked the Ring app, the thumbnail image for the video feed was completely dark and I couldn't make anything out. I checked the live feed and it was the same. This is odd because I always leave the porch light on at night, so I should be able to see something. So your Ring doorbell doesn't even have night vision. I'm gonna research that after this video. Obviously it's probably fiction, sorry, I don't want to ruin the story. I grabbed my nightstand gun and went to investigate. Opening the door slightly, I peeked outside and realised I had indeed forgotten to leave the porch light on. I like having our porch well lit at night, as I feel that doing so is a deterrent to would-be thieves. I flicked it on and looked around but didn't see anybody around, so I closed the door, locked it and went back to bed. The same thing happened again this morning, a flurry of motion alerts around 3 AM. Even in my groggy state, I am self-aware enough to acknowledge how incredibly forgetful I am. I'm the guy who spends 10 minutes looking for the TV remote only to realise it has been in my hand the whole time. I rolled my eyes at myself, figuring I forgot to turn the porch light on again. To be safe though, I clicked one of the alerts on my phone and was immediately startled by the thumbnail image the app presented to me. Staring back at me was a dark, blurry close-up image of a man's face. It filled the entire thumbnail, so his face must have been almost right up against the camera. As I processed what I was seeing, I noticed a couple of other details about the man's face. Even with the poor lighting, I could see enough of his face to tell that his eyes were very far apart. So much that it bordered on unnatural. He also had the widest grin I'd ever seen a person have, with way more teeth than I would have thought humanly possible. I was so unnerved by this that, even with my nightstand gun, I did not want to confront this guy. I clicked on the thumbnail in order to bring up the live feed, but the man appeared to be gone. I still couldn't make out much more of the image though, so I hesitated for a moment, trying to decide whether to phone the police to be on the safe side or check things out myself. I like to on the safe side, so I started to get up in order to step into the other room to phone the police, so as not to wake my wife. She's a light sleeper, so the slight commotion woke her anyway, and she groggily asked me what I was doing. Not wanting to worry her, I simply said that I couldn't sleep. Had remembered that I left the porch light off and that I wanted to go turn it on. There was a pause, and what she said next made the colour drain from my face. As she turned over to go back to sleep, she mumbled, "While you're at it, can you make sure to put the doorbell back up outside? I brought it in the other day to let it charge and forgot to put it back up." I felt sick as her words sank in. The odd timing of the motion alerts during the day had been the camera picking up our own movements as the device sat charging on the kitchen counter, but the ones in the early hours of the morning that faced into the camera, those had also been recorded inside our home. Another alert startled me out of my shock. There is a motion at your front door. So that was a really clever plot twist in my opinion. I quite like that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I just wanted to really quickly just promote some of the pages that I've been working on with Horror O'Clock. So we now have a TikTok, and I'm planning to do like daily short videos, just some like horrifying news, like recent news, popular news, stuff like that. I've been uploading these shorts to Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, and so far the TikTok page is doing the best. The YouTube channel at the moment isn't getting much reach, which is normal. It's a new channel. I've had other YouTube channels before in the past and they've done better, but I'm just really praying with this channel and I'm just working hard, so I hope the right people will stumble across it soon. So yeah, please go and give those accounts a follow if you can, and I hope you guys enjoy the short content over there as well. As I said, I'm putting it on every platform, so whichever social media you prefer, you can see the shorts either on YouTube, Instagram or TikTok. They're really the only places I want to put them out at the moment. Let's go and read a second story then. Okay, this next story is: I found this strange doll in the forest and I haven't felt right ever since. This is by the user Uncredited Mystery, again on the subreddit page No Sleep. So, let's have a read of this. To preface this story, I'm a plant biology student at my local college, so I like to take nature walks to keep my plant identification skills sharp. This morning I was on one of my nature walks, looking around a large oak tree, when I noticed a strange object directly in the center of what seemed to be a red spray painted circle. Of course, me being the idiot I am, decided to investigate immediately. I walked over to the object and noticed it seemed to be some sort of doll, made of tightly woven sticks and what looked to be hair. I backed away disgusted and decided that was enough investigating for the day. However, the closer I got back to home, the more I couldn't stop thinking about the doll. So foolishly, I turned around to retrieve it. I got back to the doll, picked it up and tossed it in my bag, and started to head back to my apartment. And finally, making it back to my apartment, I pulled the doll out of my bag and placed it on my kitchen table. As you do. The long walk from the forest absolutely demolished my energy, so I decided to pull a frozen pizza out of the freezer and heat it up. Not so patiently waiting for the pizza to be done, I wound up staring at the doll. There was something off about it, other than the fact it had what I assumed was human hair in it, and I found it in the middle of the forest. Just as I started to get lost in the thought of the doll, the timer of my oven started to ring. I waltzed over to the oven and pulled out the pizza, my mouth watering as the hunger started to overcome me. I sat down and pulled up a video on my phone, as I refused to eat without entertainment. Girl, same. I mean, I don't know your gender, but same. Just as fast as I took a bite out of the pizza, I spit it out. Something tasted awful about it. I mean, sure, it's not a gourmet meal, but I've had plenty of frozen pizzas, and none that tasted this foul. I played it off as I must have got an old pizza or something. I poured a glass of water from the tap and took a sip to wash the nasty taste from my mouth, but the water tasted just as vile. I started to panic and grabbed anything that was halfway edible from the pantries and fridge, and all of that tasted horrid. Just as I started to vomit from the horrendous taste of the combinations of food I had just eaten, I started to hear what seemed to be the sound of snapping twigs coming from the kitchen table. I looked over and gasped in fear as I noticed a mouth start to form on the face of the doll. As soon as the mouth on the doll seemed to complete, my mouth instantly seemed to dry out. It was so dry, if I moved my tongue, it started to crack and bleed. I sprinted to the bathroom to see if I could notice a difference in my mouth. I got to the mirror and fell on my knees in horror. My mouth had lost all colour, everything from my lips to my throat. had turned a drab grey colour. I started to cry at the sight of my mouth and the astronomical pain I was enduring. The tears streaming down my face started to get thicker and thicker. I wanted to stand up to look into the mirror, but stayed down out of fear of what I would witness. After around 2 to 3 minutes, I started to lose vision in my left eye, and my tears were the consistency of gravy. I had to stand and look just to soothe the feeling of curiosity and fear. I stood up and noticed what seemed to be mud pouring from my eyes. My heart sunk to the bottom of my stomach. I made my way back to the kitchen. Just as I had thought, the doll started to form sockets right above where the mouth had formed. I've decided to use what I think are my last few minutes of vision to write this out and post it on whatever media platforms I can before I lose the ability to see. If you're ever wandering through the forest and stumble upon a doll, I strongly advise you to head the other direction. So again, that was another interesting story. The last paragraph was a bit abnormal though, like I decided to use the last bit of my vision to warn you guys on Reddit. Your first instinct isn't to throw that motherfucking twig doll out of the window or across a highway, it's to tell us on Reddit. Yeah guys, I kinda messed up. Don't pick up dolls in the forest, especially ones that have a red circle around it and human hair. But besides that part of the story, it's quite interesting. So I hope you guys enjoyed those stories as much as I did. Again, I did not read these stories beforehand. I just kind of read the title of the story, and whichever one piques my interest the most, I'm like, yeah, we'll read that one. Some of the stories are very long as well, so what I will do, I'll take a quick scroll, and if there's a lot of text, I'll kind of just not read it because I don't want the video to be too long. I try to do about 2 stories per video, so yeah. So that was episode 2. I am planning to continue this series. It gives me like a nice little break in between doing research, because a lot of the videos on my channel take so much time to research and then edit, so this gives me like a nice little break, but I do enjoy it. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video, and thank you so much for watching.